Okay, if you would, stand for invocation, please. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together again. We thank you for the many blessings that we all have, including the ability to live in a place like Gilmer County, where we take our freedom seriously and have such beauty and such a wonderful lifestyle that we can live. We wish everybody was this fortunate. We pray, Father, that you would watch over those who have this terrible COVID, that you would help us to defeat this. Particularly, Father, we pray that you would watch over our first responders as they are right in the first lines of this, that you would watch over our military who helps keep us free. These things, Father, I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have got a few changes that I would recommend for on the agenda. Under unfinished business, I would suggest that we remove item 1 and 2. And then we would then add back as item 1, a conversation on how to proceed in or which direction to go in trying to determine what our insurance needs will be. There won't be a vote with that, we'll just decide which way we want to pursue it. And also is item number 2, a discussion of the swimming pool, because there are folks that weren't here yesterday that didn't want to hear about that. I would then suggest that we remove under new business items 3 and 4 as they have been withdrawn, and also item 10. I would then make a motion that that agenda be approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
I'm sorry, you said remove 10.
I'm sorry.
Remove 10, please.
Yes. Okay, are there any changes or corrections to the minutes for the August 11th work session, August 12th executive session, August 12th regular meeting, August 12th public comment meeting, or the August 23rd special call meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to be approved as read, written.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to our financial statement. Sandy?
This is the financial report for August 31st. Each department should be at 67% of their expenditure budget used. Departments over budget as of August 31st are Clerk of Superior Court, 69%, Sheriff's Office, 69%, Superior Court, 69%, and EMA at 74%. Overall, we are at 69% of the total revenue budget received and 62% of the total expenditure budget used. Total revenue received to date, $18,554,983. Total expenditures to date, $16,612,542.
Okay, any questions? I would mention that the EMA, where they're at 74%, it's primarily because of all the additional expenditures that they've had dealing with COVID and the protective equipment that they've bought for other departments and so forth. Okay, thank you,
Sandy,
Cindy.
when you think about the audit report,
They are finishing it up now. We should have it, I expect to have it by first of the week. I know we've been going back and forth on some final things, and they were sending it for the second review process. So I anticipate we'll have that on the agenda for next month.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Insurance, I just simply got one from email. Basically, I kind of think of it as a little bit of extortion, but at the same time, we need to decide which way we want to go with it. We're looking at a 25% or more increase in our insurance rates. However, they have offered that we can go to 15%. We may be able to get that down to 10, but for sure 15%. If we go ahead and sign up with them and not go to the market with this. They've also said that if we do go to the market with this and we can't find anything better than what they're offering, they will no longer offer the 15%. So we have to decide whether we want to take a 15% increase or go out to market, see what we can find in hopes that we can beat their offer. And the only question that I have today is just which way y'all want to proceed on it.
Another organization, governmental type organization,
Another insurance.
I'm talking about another organization, governmental type, they just received their increase, which is 25%.
Yeah.
So it makes 15 look good. You know I like to bid things, but my initial reaction would be to go for another year with this 15%.
Well, particularly, they kind of laid out the reasoning for it, and, it's all based on how much you put out the year before, sure, and we're not in good shape there, so. That being the case, I would tend to say not to go for the market. So what we'll do then is we will put this on the agenda for our next meeting to actually vote on and approve on it. I just wanted to see if we wanted to go to the market first on that.
I'm in agreement.
There seems to be some urgency, so do we need to let them know before then? But I just read it.
Yeah, I read that too. I didn't know how soon meant soon.
Well, the problem is we can't vote on it because.
True. If we need to do a special meeting,
But
we're
there,
going to do that.
okay, there does seem to be some urgency, and we may well have to do that if y'all are okay with it.
Great.
Okay. Next thing would be an update on the pool. Mr. Cox, are you there? Yes, sir. Did you want to speak on that?
It depends on where you're going with it.
Well, I just read your email about 15 minutes ago.
I'm talking about,
Didn't have an opportunity to respond. I will say that we've been working with two vendors. Neither of them felt that we had the engineering necessary. Yes, sir. Neither of them felt that we had the engineering necessary to put out a bid. We do have one of them that has provided that, and it would be suitable for a bid for all three. But we've recently had a third entity that has expressed interest. So with that said, I'll turn it over to you.
well, this is something obviously in the interest of all counties.
Right.
Because we've been waiting for 2 years to do this, not your fault or anything, but
Yeah.
it's just that our plans in the beginning, as it was told to me by one of the pool people, was that it's a $2 million pool with a $1 million budget. Well, the budget has increased, and the ones that contacted us, Outboard Pools, have gone through the trouble of analyzing our plans and making recommendations and giving us a bid that looked reasonable with some exceptions. In my opinion, this satisfies the state rule of having multiple bids put out. even though there's a time lapse involved in this stuff. And these guys seem to have a plan, they've done the work, and they're ready to work with us in any way possible. And that is my recommendation, that we dispense with the others. If you want to look at them, you can. But I think you've got a bird in the hand, and you've got an audience of 20-some thousand people that would really like to have a pool. And we're not going to make May, as you had said before, we want to make May. And that's what I recommend that we do. I'll put it as a recommendation to you all.
Well, we actually,
Accept the bid, or just.
yeah, we actually have an audience of 27,000 and some plus one, because, or plus three, I would say, because nobody wants to get it done any sooner than we do, believe me.
I know that.
Now, that said, what you posed is a legal question, so I will have to.
What we received was a quote, as I understand it. We had not put it out for bid.
No, it's a quote.
It hasn't comported or followed the statutes with respect to the bid process. I mean, it is a bid or quote, but it doesn't follow any of the aspects of the statute.
Would you explain that? What are you talking about? What rule are you talking about?
Well, it's under Title 36, and it's public works bidding. Any project that's in the amount of expenditure of excess of $100,000 or more, you have to follow that title or those statutes there, and it does require bidding. And that's what the county has done previously with the other two attempts to bid this. Unfortunately, and as Chairman has indicated, the design necessarily had some elements that needed to be polished up, so to speak, and therefore it wasn't able to attract any bidders at that point in time. But you got to follow Title 36, Public Works, which I think is 3691 and section sub 1.
Well, I submit to you, have we not already done that? We put it out for bids. No one responded because we were asking more than anybody wanted to look at because the budget was not there. So we didn't get a response. But we did put it out there. And then finally, when the Aqua people were contacted, they were willing to take on the challenge of looking at our plans and seeing, and my question to them was, okay, you can't do it for the $1 million budget. We've got a little bit more now, $1.5 million, as I recall. And therefore, what can you do with that budget? Instead of saying, do it or not, what can you do? They gave us a recommendation of what they could do. The main thing that got cut out was the diving board and the diving well. And most pools now are installing it without the diving board because of liabilities, for one. And there is a very limited number of people who would use the diving board. So that's, my contention is, we've got a bid, we've met the rule, the bids have been out there, we've gotten one good solid bid, and those people are willing to work with us to get it right the way we want it, based upon our budget.
And again,
Does that not satisfy the rule?
no, sir, it does not.
Tell me
Mr.
why.
Price. And again, you have to follow the title, the statute, 3690, I think it's 90. You have to follow the elements of that statute. They're bound.
Didn't we just do that? Statute of limitations, is there a statute of limitations that we have to consider?
Okay. What you're referencing is a subsequent quote that's received after the bid process has been followed and advertised. The bid process, any advertisement contained within that bid process notices those potential bidders with a specified date and a specified time that those quotes or bids, proposed bids, have to be received by the county. And at that time, there's a public opening of those bids if it's being done under a request for bids. If it's being done under a request for proposals, they'll still be open publicly and documented publicly. However, the dollar amount may not necessarily be announced to afford the county the opportunity to subsequently negotiate with those proposed bidders to potentially get what would be considered the best price. What you, or I assume, and I don't want to misdirect this, or I don't know the name of the company, but what you have asked is them to prepare and propose a quote, and that is all it is at this point in time. And
But and also, they submitted an analysis of what could be done in-house.
and that's good. And again, I think that the commissioners, or the board itself has subsequently gotten some engineering specs and had it re-engineered in some respect, and has every intention of going out to bid for it. So if this company is as interested as you indicate that they are, is interested, then they will be able to participate in that bid process, and they very well may be the low bidder at that point in time. But it'll be a competitive process to which other parties, other companies will be given that opportunity to bid. So at the end of the day, the company that you were referencing may be the lowest bidder, but until that process has been adhered to and followed, we don't know the answer to that. For them to do otherwise would be in violation of the state law, which would potentially cause them not only it would be potentially personally problematic for them as board members.
Well, this endangers the deadline that we had set forth for May. And I would hate to see that deadline missed, because that would be even more upsetting to the population of this county. And I know that Lloyd has had a discussion with some of them, with at least the one I'm referring to, Aqua. Has he given a report anyway to?
He did yesterday, yes, sir, he did.
Oh,
Mr.
good.
Cox, I guess I'm a little bit lost on that. So what you would encourage is that these board members take action that could potentially be criminal in nature and subject themselves. That's not funny.
No, it is funny how you worded it.
Is it?
That's okay, Laurie, go ahead.
Mr. Cox, I'm not going to debate you up here. I'm just telling you that they could potentially have themselves having potential criminal liability for an expenditure of funds that's not in conformity with the statute.
Well, I request if there could be extenuating circumstances considered in this thing, and you can get some kind of alleviation from the state if necessary. I just want to get it done. All of us want to get it done, pretty much, just to get it done. And even if it costs us more money for them to do it, to get it started, to get it done in time for May, that would create a very happy populace on this issue. That's just my point. And I know that you're considering the law, and I know you're very careful with that, and that's very important. That's why you're here. But I submit, if there's a way to see that we have qualified those state rules by having put out the bid already, and now we have someone who has put out one and done work on it, that would be considered, and we could go ahead with the project. It doesn't have to be Aqua, but I just think that they did a good job of coming in and volunteering to do this work with the hopes that we would reconsider them, because they didn't put in a bid the first time. They didn't put in a bid because it was just too much. They said we had a $2 million pool and we had a $1 million budget, and so it just didn't seem worthwhile. But now we have an alternative. So I just submit, I won't take much longer. I just submit that it will be in the best interest of the county to proceed quickly. If you gotta look at other people because of your requirements, let's do it. But I suggest that we have plans ready to go, let's break some ground. Okay, that's it from my standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I would say also, Mr. Cox, that you may want your aqua pool to look at, to ask Lloyd for, because we did get a new
Good. No, they're not
layout or
mine, and I have
design.
no financial interest in this, except that I
Sure,
have a
but-
swimming son who will be out of school and not swimming anymore in that pool.
Right.
But it would be nice to have it for everybody else coming out.
I understand. Believe me, I really want the pool as well. But it's a good design. It separates the water like we need to. So if you want to reach out to Lloyd and see if he can share that, I don't know if that's
Yeah.
okay for him to
I'll
share.
contact him. I'll contact him.
But that may expedite.
Well, and I'm here to help. That's what I'm here. I'm here to encourage, to push as I can within the legal limits. Got to do that. But I'm here to help in any way I can. I just
Thank
want to
you.
get it done, as do many people in our county.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you all
Appreciate
for
it.
listening.
Okay. We've got some zonings, and I think we can probably go through pretty quickly. Highland Springs Farm from R1 residential low density to A1 agricultural. That would be matched to zoning for 162 acres already owned, and it would be used for agricultural purposes. I would make a motion that that be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pleasant Valley Baptist Church from R1 residential low density to P1 public institute to provide them with additional cemetery space. And I would make a motion that that be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sean Elliott requesting from R1 residential low density to C1 commercial to build an 1,800 square foot structure for housing his grading equipment and for conducting his business. I would make a motion that that be approved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Which brings us to citizens wishing to speak. Anybody that would like to speak on any topic, but if you do, please come to the podium here and state your name.
My name is Jack Pete, and I'd like to speak on the topic of the animal shelter expansion. Commissioners, thank you for your time. I'm the president of FOGUS, Friends of Gilmer Animal Shelter, which we're known in the community. And we assist the shelter with adoptions, we assist the shelter with equipment. We have a low-cost spay and neuter program that since 2017 has done over 600 procedures in Gilmer County. We also have a low-cost vaccination clinic with Dr. Chester and his staff twice a year. We've done about 800 low-cost vaccinations for the community. FOGUS this year coupled up with the animal shelter, and we had our first ever TNR program, trap, neuter, and release for feral cats. FOGUS agreed to fund the first 40 spay and neuters, and with the overwhelming response of that program, we authorized another 40 spay and neuters, and that should take that feral cat trap and release program to the end of 2021 and maybe into 2022. Why not mention all these programs? Well, those programs make a difference, and organizations make a difference. We have several sister organizations from FOGUS here tonight. Homeward Bound. We also have Paws Be Good. We have Karen Wilson's animal group, and we have Furry Paws cat rescue group. All those grouped together, along with the animal shelter, has designated our shelter a no-kill. I know I'm personally proud of that. I know all these folks are proud of that. And I know you, as each county commission of ours, I know you're proud of that. Glenn and I relocated here from Orange County, Florida. We saw Disney open in 1971. We saw an explosion of growth and population growth. A rural community of 75,000 in 30 years. A real densely urban community with 2 million residents. That's a lot of people, folks. And Gilmer County, with our beauty, our natural resources, and our quality of life, commissioners, we're the Walt Disney World of the North Georgia mountains. They will come and they will bring their animals with them. And why are we here tonight? Growth management, trying to figure out how we're going to pay for things. Well, we've got one thing on the agenda, consideration of the expansion and the retrofitting of the Gilmer County Animal Shelter. And thanks to 2 very generous Gilmer County animal lovers, that's possible with that funding. And they're here with us tonight. Got Chris Wallman. Chris, would you stand up, please? Chris is here representing her sister, Evelyn Heiss Griffin. And we want to thank you, Chris, and would you pass on our thanks to Evelyn for us? We also got Attorney Bob Lippman. Bob's a kind of energetic guy, and he's another one of our funders. And I want to thank you, Bob, for your donation for the Gilmer County Animal Shelter. And I think Bob's going to
We should also mention that Bob has a very special operation, Tri-Mountain. I know it's Tri-Mountain Retreat. There you go. For disadvantaged children and so forth. And he not only is very generous with the animal shelter and for the animals, but he also does a tremendous service for our children here.
Yes. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Chris. And lastly, commissioners, It's in your hands tonight. You could make a choice of approving this program to expand and retrofit the Gilmer County Animal Shelter with private funding, or folks, we're gonna be back here in 2 or 3 years. We're gonna be talking about the same thing, but this time we're gonna be talking about retrofitting the shelter and expanding the shelter with taxpayer funds. Thank you, Commissioners. God bless you. Thank you for your service. You have any questions?
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Daniel from Gilmer County Animal Shelter. I'm the director. Thank you, Commissioners, for having this meeting for us today. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. As Jack mentioned, there's many people here to support this. My employees, Homeward Bound, Bogus, Bob, Chris, multiple people, volunteers that come every single week and see the amount of work that we do on a weekly and daily basis. What I'd like to just talk about is when I first got to the animal shelter, what the animal shelter was like. When I first arrived in 2013, the animal shelter was averaging 1,800 to 2,000 animals a year. Around 1,100 of those animals a year were being euthanized. You're looking at 44% of 1,000 dogs and puppies were being euthanized. 70+% of the 1,000 cats and kittens were being euthanized when I took over at the end of 2014. When you walk into the shelter in 2013, 2014, you walk in, on your left is a bathroom, and the next room is an adoption room. And then on the right, you have the office space, my office, a secondary office that was used for animal control. You have an employee bathroom, and then you have a storage room. Those are the first things that you would see when you would walk in. None of those things had animals back in 2013 in their rooms, in that part of the facility. Right now when you walk in my office, there's a mom and 2 kittens, and a mom and 3 kittens and 2 crates. The animal control office has been turned into a sick room. There's probably 20 to 25 kittens that are housed in that room. The adoption room on the left now has 8 to 9 feral cats in that room. We have 3 or 4 different towers that have 8 to 9 kittens in each tower in the lobby area and the office area. The storage room is now a community room that houses 15 to 20 cats and kittens. Then you would walk into the hallway and you'd have the first and second room that were actually used for the cats and kittens. And those 2 rooms were the only rooms used back in 2013 for cats and kittens. You go to the third room and it was used for puppies. We don't use that room for puppies anymore, we use it for cats and kittens. We put puppies in our storage room because we try to keep them separate from every other animal so that way they don't pick up parvo, they don't get sick. They're in the storage room, which doesn't have air or heat in that room, but we keep it. We use a fan in the wintertime, and then it has heat in the dog kennel area that floats into that room to keep it warm in the wintertime. Our side room that used to be used for euthanasia did not have any animals in it. It was used as a storage room and also just used for euthanasia. Right now it has 35 cats and kittens in that room. Every single room we have now is used for animals. 4 years ago, Charlie approached me about a possible expansion for the dogs because we were overcrowded in the dog section, and we went with the route of a transport van to transport animals out of the county to the north, to the south, to Florida, to local rescues that are an hour away, and we've done fantastic with that. We've been able to transport animals to get our no-kill status to, 99% of the animals that come into the shelter now leave the shelter alive, adoptable, healthy. Of course, I couldn't do that. I get all the credit for it, but I couldn't do it without all the volunteers, the employees. The employees do way more than anybody could ever know. If I talk too much about that, I won't be able to talk anymore. So anyway, this expansion would go a long way, not just for the existing shelter we have now. The expansion will help renovate the existing shelter we have now. It will give us the space we need. It will give us the space the animals need. It will give us offices that we can operate more efficiently. It will give us time to have more adoptions within the county itself. We adopt 200 to 300 cats and kittens within the county itself on a yearly basis. We adopt out close to 100 dogs and puppies within the county on a yearly basis. Those numbers could be doubled if we had the space and the time to utilize. In the design that we have a spay-neuter area that I've already had commitment from at least 2 vets that will come to the facility and spay and neuter at the facility, which would save countless money on gas from driving them to the vets, and their prices would be lower as well because we would be able to purchase the equipment they need. They would just be offering their time. The new expansion and existing shelter could become more energy efficient. That could mean better heating, better air, better lighting. The laundry room that we have to purchase a new dryer or a new washer every year, every 18 months. We could get commercial washer, commercial dryer. We would have the space for that. I've already spoke to a commercial laundry that the owner lives in LJ, who's offered to service the equipment for us at no cost. We would just have to purchase the equipment. I could probably stand up here and talk for hours about what we've accomplished over the last few years, but I want to accomplish more over the next few years as well. And it's definitely something we have to do together. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know how many animals we've transported out? And the rough number, you know?
If I'm going by just this year, right now we have a group in New Jersey known as 11th Hour. They take roughly 12 to 15 dogs and puppies from us every month, and so we've transported to them every single month. We've transported to Wisconsin 4 times this year, and they take close to 20 dogs from us. We've transported to multiple groups down in Florida this year that have probably taken a little over 100 dogs and puppies from us this year alone. If I'm going by 2019 numbers, we adopted out roughly 100 of the close to 1,000 dogs and puppies we took in. I want to say we took in 1,100 dogs and puppies in 2019. We adopted out 100, about 130 were owner reclaims, and the rest were transported to a rescue. Yeah. So you're looking at a good 80 to 90% of the dogs and puppies that come to the shelter are being adopted in other counties or states.
For me, you were who I wanted to hear from tonight, so thank you for being here as well, and all of the work you all do. You do a fantastic job, and I had personally adopted 3 cats from your shelter, from Gilman County Shelter. They're great pets. We love them to death. So it's, and Daniel, you do an absolutely incredible job, and so does your state.
One last thing I would like to reiterate what Jack said was, growth is coming, and right now we have the possibility of private funds to do what we may need to do within 5 years or less. Anyway, we became no-kill pretty soon after I took over, but it hasn't been easy, and we do the best with what we have. So.
support Daniel and Jandy. I've worked with animal control facilities for over 50 years, and I have never seen a more dedicated, hard-working individual as Daniel. This week alone, we have spayed and neutered over 60 cats, not counting the dogs. He's dedicated to saving all animals. And I speak to a lot of rescue groups, and I speak to a lot of control groups. And Gilbert County, thanks to your leadership, is sort of the mecca of animal control in North Georgia. All facilities look to Gilbert County. And with Daniel and his support, it can only get bigger and better. And once again, it goes back to the leadership that comes from you individuals, Daniel, and the people who support him. So all I have to say is, you've done a great job. You've kept up. But if you stop, it doesn't take long to get that high. So that's it for me. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Tom Motley, commissioners, staff. Really wasn't going to speak, but I heard the director come up here, and I was just at the shelter 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago. My wife accidentally from Chewy ordered the wrong dog food, and our dog cannot eat that dog food. So I said, well, let me take it out of the shelter. So I went out there, and I tell you want to see a 260-pound guy cry when they offered to let you walk through there. Every cage was full, it was clean, but every one of the dogs just, they want to go home with you. Now, when I went into the cats, because they must recognize I was a dog person, because the cats looked up to, yeah, you want something, and then they went back to sleep. I could tell the cats didn't like me. But if, you could tell that they're crowded. I could tell that was a former office where the cats are. They're kind of stacked up about this high. You can tell it's well run. But they're doing the best they can out there. And I'm in favor and support whatever the director needs, and, the volunteers, thank you very much, and the donations. It's, a lot of counties don't have this opportunity, but going out there, looking at the facility firsthand, just as a citizen, I have no interest. We've got a special dog in my family. Everybody's got hair dander issues, and I've got a micro mini Labradoodle that we actually rescued because she was too wild for the first families before her. We're our third family. So we're crazy enough to have a crazy dog, so it works out well. And it's just a little 13-pound, micro Labradoodle. So if I could adopt it, and I'm telling you, when I walked out of there, I cried. If I could have adopted every dog that was in that cage, I would have done it. So, my hat's off to you, sir. You're doing a great job, and thank you. Thank you.
So you already know who I am. My name is Eric Clayford, and I'm the Facilities Maintenance Director for the county. And a couple of things that I wanted to touch on with what Daniel said, they clicked into my head with things that he had said. Obviously, you know that we do maintenance out there for Daniel and for everybody that's out there. He had touched on the HVAC systems, and I can tell you, they are old. There's a lot of problems with them. We have problems with them. They also have systems out there that have ultraviolet light. We have to put special filters in because you can't get things in the air for the pets that would contaminate the animals. One thing he didn't touch on that I can tell you we've had a lot of problems with is the drainage in that building, as Daniel knows. I mean, when I say drainage problems, we were out there maybe 2 or 3 weeks in a row, Daniel, where every drain in that building was up to capacity because the drainage system wasn't working right. And we're thinking what it was when that was built, they've only put like 4-inch drains in instead of a 6. So one thing we had talked with Daniel about is we finally got that cleared up. I don't think we've had any problems. It took us a while. We found some toys that had gotten worked in that took us close to a year to get them out of the system. But one thing that we had discussed is if they do that, we need to focus on, I don't know if they're talking about adding another building, I haven't talked to them about that, but being able to, if they add another building, not to connect those drain systems together, because there's no way that the building they have now would be able to handle it. So that's one concern that I wanted to bring up, that I can tell you this, it's a very important thing. Because like I said, when it backs up, you've got, what, 32 dog kennels? 30 dog kennels in all those rooms, and it's up, everything that's gone down there is floating in there. So it's hard for him to take care of it, and it's a rush. So that is, I mean, that's an important thing, maintenance-wise, that I've seen is HVAC and plumbing. So I wasn't gonna say anything, but that just came to mind, and I wanted to make sure that I could bring that up.
Thank you.
I guess I can't help but be personal and say, but I spent 36 years of my career dedicated to helping people who needed my services. And the thing I love most about my practice is the personal injury litigation, was I never had to ask my clients for a nickel. They came to me because they needed me, and the nature or the niche that I was able to, I don't want to be too personal in this thing, but I think it's important in terms of what we're here tonight about. The thing that I found most gratifying was at the end of a case, they're shaking my hand or thanking me for the job that I could do, and everything to me. So, I don't know if be sentimental, but I could talk for hours. I just want to say that not only does it make sense economically, which is very, very frankly what your major concerns are, but the goodwill that this expansion can bring to the county is immeasurable. I have a new chapter in my life now. I retired. I have some property up a big creek where I have partnered with charitable organizations that provide kids that aren't or have not been as fortunate as I have been in many different ways. And the second part of this is so disjointed, but I'm just trying to squeeze in the 5 minutes for tell you life out there. But the second part of my passion in life now is to be the voice of God's creatures that can't speak. And the reason I'm sentimental now is if you've ever walked into Fulton County, DeKalb County, Cobb County, Gwinnett County, any county's kill shelter, and see those eyes of a dog, and see the heart of a dog that just knows what they're at and knows what they can get out if they can get out. I did that in Cobb County, and I got a 3-legged dog. It's my family. He's out there. I'm sure we're here now to see what we're talking about, but the easy part for me is to write a check, and for the other people that may have done, that's the easy part. The hard part is Daniel and everyone that, as a family, allows this to succeed. But the part of that family is you guys too, because without your approval, without your okay, without your, say approbation, all kinds of things, that this won't happen in the sense that it needs to happen. And I'll conclude with this. It's a small little thing that makes it's huge. Small, but it's huge. There's hardly a time, I live in Atlanta, and I live here. I live in 2 different places. I have two homes. But when I go into Lowe's, which I virtually every week I need to maintain what I have, they have no clue what my name is. But without exception, almost every employee says, "Hey, Charlie, how are you? What's going on, Charlie?" They know my dog's name. They don't know my name. They know my dog's name. And he's the Lowe's greeter. Everyone loves him. But that's what I'm talking about. And they would just, almost to a T, when I tell them what we're kind of thinking of doing, I can't commit to that, at that point especially. can I help? What can I do to help? So the goodwill that would bring to the county residents, not to mention other people that come in. And the county's growing, it really is. And it is, I think, immeasurable. So, you know, for 36 years, I tried to convince 12 jurors of my cause, but I can't think of any more passionate that I can say, do, or try to convey, maybe to ask your consideration. And it makes sense, it just makes sense. They'll tell you how it makes sense. It makes sense to me from a heart standpoint. It makes sense to them from the heart, economically as well. I hope the combination is such that you will see your way to allow this to proceed in the way that it will. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sylvia Harris. I'm Vice President of Bogus. And I wanted to bring up a couple of points that why do we need a shelter that is more modern, that has better facilities. The first thing I wanted to bring up is from 2000 to 2020, our population has increased by almost 34%. That's in 20 years. Daniel spoke about how in 7 years, just a fraction of those 20 years, how the shelter has exploded with pet population. You guys sit here every time you meet and talk about rezoning and the increase in population. This is a big issue for our county, as we all know. We need the shelter to have the facilities to accommodate this new outlook for our community. The increase in population has overwhelmed all services. We know, we talk about infrastructure, we talk about a lot of things. But it has really done a number on our shelter. The things I have personally seen is really overwhelming. I had an opportunity to bring in a celebrity to adopt from our shelter. I was embarrassed for her to go through there. Denise Fleck is the pet safety crusader. She's world renowned. I mean, this lady goes to Oprah Winfrey's house to teach her staff how to care for her dogs. She has been on The Pit Boss. She's been on The Doctors. She's been on ABC. I mean, she is a television celebrity. And she came here to adopt from our shelter. I happened to be training with her. I knew she had lost her Akita. We happened to have one. I was able to get her to come, and yes, she did adopt, and now Chico is also a celebrity on TV. But to be embarrassed to bring in people into our shelter is not a good way to be. She came from out of town. Where is she going to go to the bathroom when there's animals in the bathroom? Just so she could pass her water so she could then take the dog home. There's nowhere to go to the bathroom. Is that where you'd want somebody who has television presence? Is that what you want them to see and go out and report? These are the kind of issues we're dealing with. One of the things, we work with 3 things on the shelter. I can tell you 60% of our budget for Focus goes directly to the shelter. 40% goes to community activities, like our spay-neuter program. So we work with a few things with the shelter, one of them being the safety of the animals in the shelter. Last year, we set up that room for the sick cats. We bought the crates. We bought the paint to paint the walls with all the special paint. Now, I know within the last 2 days, you received a letter from Mindy Petzer. Hopefully you read that email she sent you. Mindy is reporting that the respiratory problems within the shelter are still there. So no matter how much money we spend, no matter what we do to fix this problem, the facility just doesn't support our efforts. The facility is the problem, not the efforts that everyone is putting out. The other thing we do is the spay-neuter program. Where do we have it? The only place we can, the Civic Center. The community was having problems going to the Georgia Animal Project. So we tried to meet those needs because of the transportation, taking a day off work, whatever they had to do. They wanted it brought into the community, so we did. The Civic Center, part of the procedures take place on a folding table. A folding table. A major surgery. You know, these are not optimal conditions. The shelter that is being proposed not only has space for veterinary care, so we could move our spay-neuter clinic there, but it would be a sterile environment, much better for the animals. Our vet that comes, Dr. Chester, he has to bring a trailer of equipment with him in order to set this clinic up for our community. Now, you know Dr. Chester probably, he lives here in Gilmer County. You know, these are things that we should not be asking these people who give so generously of their time to have to endure. We should be able to provide a facility for them. The other thing that has surprised me was the feral cat population. Focus offered to help with fielding phone calls that would come in because we just don't have the staff in the shelter to do it. I thought, okay, I had heard stories, there's a lot of feral cats behind the funeral home. And one lady shared with me at a DEPCO meeting, well, she lives 2 streets behind, she says, if I'm carrying my groceries into my house and I drop something, the cats get it before I can. And if I reach down to get it, they're attacking my hand. So I'm thinking, okay, we've got a couple little cells here and there of feral cats. I start fielding calls. There is not one part of Gilmer County where we do not have a feral cat population. From mechanics shops, downtown, out Walnut Mountain, Burnt Mountain. We have some from Talking Rock. It's everywhere. And it's not a small problem. So we said we would fund 40 cats. We had a plan. The animal shelter would pick them up and house them in order to have a clinic. We had tried just giving out certificates to the community, but no one could catch them to get them to the clinic on the day of the clinic. So Daniel had come up with a plan. There is no way he can house 40 feral cats and wait for a clinic date. He doesn't have room. Everything we try to do, the building prohibits us from doing the right thing for our community. You know, we've offered the 40 to pay for another 40. I can tell you, how many times have I contacted you? Hey, so-and-so is still waiting for their cats to be picked up. I don't have room. I don't know where to put them. You know, this isn't a small problem. We can't service the community the way it should be because we have a facility that can't support it. The people are here. The people have the desire. We're all on board. But we can't do it because of the facility. Now, just to let you know, just a little information, the other things we do is support other community or other organizations for the county. Last year, we bought the kennel for the search and rescue dogs. It was a kennel, the cover, and the dog box. This year, we are going to send the 3 dogs and their handlers from the Sheriff's Department to the conference in Perry, Georgia this year. Because the budget doesn't handle it. But we're going to pick it up because we want the best for our community. We want our sheriff's department, the handlers and the dogs, to have the best opportunities to learn and do better for our community, because our community is important to us. So with all that said, I think we need a new facility, both because it's breaking down and because we cannot, as a whole, do the jobs that need to be done. I will add one more point. I have a vision. There is a meeting room in this design. So much can be done for our community with this meeting room. We can have puppy classes there for people, or pet safety classes, pet care classes for people who adopt animals. The idea would be to try to prevent the return of animals because people get them home now, the dog's peeing in the house or some bad behavior. We would then have a facility to support our adopters. We can give classes to teens who may want to be pet walkers or pet sitters. I am a certified instructor for CPCR, pet first aid, and pet safety. I am more than willing to volunteer my time to help these people, but we need a facility. And this new building will provide that for us.
Commissioner Chairman Paris, other commissioners, distinguished guests, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Amy Olwick, and I volunteer at the Gilmer County Animal Shelter. I'd like to start with a little story of how I met Daniel. My husband and I relocated to our dream home about a year ago. I've been involved in animal rescue through volunteering in animal shelters for about 25 years. And so I became active on the Facebook page for Lost Pets in Gilmer County. A post appeared last August of two gorgeous American bulldogs lost on Sunlight Road. In the background of the picture was the street address on Sunlight. And someone said these dogs are going to get hit. There were 30 responses negative about the dogs. Yes, they're going to get hit. If somebody doesn't get them, I'm going to hit them on my way to work tomorrow, and we almost hit them this morning. And I asked simply, is anybody going to help them? And nobody responded. Well, I lied to my husband, and I said I was going to Walmart. And I drove out there because the street address was right there. And those of you who know Sunlight Road, we're way out in the middle of nowhere. And I saw the dogs the next day in the same spot. Anybody who's ever worked in animal rescue, if a dog is dumped, it stays there waiting for its owner to come back. He got kicked out of the car and he thinks the owner's going to come back. So I parked my car, I got out, and they ran into the woods, this little clearing in the woods. And I didn't have my brave pants on that day. I was out in the middle of nowhere and I didn't go in the woods, but I came back the next day at the same time. And there the dogs were. And I walked through the clearing in the woods and it was an abandoned property, an old cabin, stuff everywhere, a 2-car garage, and an old house. And a big open field, so I took my lawn chair and I sat there with my dog food. And I named them. It was Princess and Autumn. And I thought Princess was pregnant. And I would get them to come within 10 feet of me, but as soon as I stood up with that leash, they dart off, and I didn't want Princess to go have her puppies in the woods or anywhere. So I came back for a week and tried to get them to come and could not get any help. I reached out to Daniel, and he said, I can be there tomorrow afternoon, Sunday, meet me at noon. And he brought 2 traps. And he sat in his truck listening to the Falcons game for 4 hours while we set the traps. We waited until 6 o'clock. We didn't catch them. I left. He went somewhere, but he came back and he called me at 7 and he said, I've got Princess. Went back the next day and we got Autumn. Princess had 5 puppies.
I'm not sure how many, but.
5 puppies 3 days later at the animal shelter. Daniel placed them with a no-kill rescue. Princess with her 5 puppies in a foster, and Autumn within 24 hours of us catching them. I said, how can I help? He said, well, we need a cat person. Well, I'm a dog person. I've done dogs for 25 years. So now I volunteer on Wednesday mornings, and I clean cat cages. Typically, my cat room number 1 has about 12 cats in it. Yesterday morning, 36. 3 cages of cats in the back room, 2 cages of cats in Daniel's office. And all of the cats will be placed. To have a 99% release rate is unheard of. That means every single animal that comes into Gomer County is found a home, unless there's a medical issue or a behavior issue. This county is becoming known for the animal shelter. And I just ask for every consideration in improving the new facility. Thank you.
Okay. If there is nobody else, we will proceed to the next item, which happens to be discussion and possible action and design for a new animal shelter. I understand, Bob. I can't say a lot, but I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the money and build a shelter.
I'm gonna ask a question. Do we have a price? I don't see a number on this sheet. Am I mistaken? I mean, I know
I don't know that we do currently have a price, but I think we can rest assured that it will be done within the scope of what we have available. And I'll modify my motion to that extent.
Okay, because I didn't see a number on here, and I thought we were gonna discuss that before. I am certainly for, without knowing a price, of course, I cannot, honestly say, yes, whatever the cost is, that we're gonna go for this. But if you say that this plan is within the budget, within the money that we've received and that we have already, I'm in agreement with that, and I would second your motion. And I'll add something. You are right. Whatever this sign says, and someone said below that a community that takes care of its pets shows or its animals shows the kind of character they have. I want to hold your applause because I'm going to add something else. A community that shows respect and the care for their neighbors and their community, their people. I drove around this community Monday, how I cried, because I looked at the population of our community in the thousands that do not live, that have holes in their homes, that do not live any better than any animal in that shelter. They probably live worse than the shelter because I know the care that Daniel and them take. So we, yes, have a responsibility. Once again, this position puts me in a place it's about balance. We need to take care of our animals, but we need to take care of our citizens. We have thousands living in this community that you would think it was a third world country. And it is unimaginable. So if you want to, I understand your heart for animals. I love animals. I don't even know how many we have. We have a farm. We're blessed. And we love our cats. But I'm telling you, it is heartbreaking for me to drive around and not take care of those people that are living right here with us. That as I'm on the phone with the food pantry, the gentleman that runs our food pantry this afternoon, some of our high school kids that are playing in band and playing in sports and don't have food on the weekends. And trying to figure out how to help them with that. And then our housing problem that is a serious problem. We do not have housing. These people, they have nowhere else to go but try to survive day to day in this dilapidated structure. So it's important that we care for all of God's creatures, all of our citizens, all of our community. It's all about a balance. And I thank you so much, all of you volunteers, for focusing. You do a tremendous job. Daniel, your team and your staff and your volunteers, you do a fantastic job, and I thank you for that. And I'm proud. Sylvia, we're good friends, so I can tell you this. I don't give a flip about what the person on TV cares thinks about our shelter. I don't care. But I care that our animals are taken care of and that they have a proper place. And if this facility, if this is in the budget that's been given, thank you so much for your big, kind hearts. Then I'm, again, second that motion to move forward.
Well, I amended my motion to say that it would be built within the scope of the funds available, so.
And that is with our budget, our regular annual budget, and the donation.
No, the building budget is a separate budget now. And it's a little over $1.5 million.
Okay.
And there's nothing else that it can be used for but expanding and improving the animal shelter. And I can't imagine that we can't do that with $1.5 million. If it turns out that it's going to cost more than that, then I would imagine we could probably adjust the plan some. But my motion is that we accept the funds and that we approve this plan, so long as it can be accomplished with the money on hand. And that would require just a straight second or not.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Without appearing to be against this,
Yeah.
technical questions.
Yeah.
You've been running this project for a while, you've done a good job, and we appreciate that. Is it ready for bid? How far along are we bid-wise? Do we have engineered drawings, or?
I believe that it is, but I want to
Clarence,
clarify.
architect. Yeah, I'm Clarence Benson. I'm been helping them bring this vision together. Architect in Atlanta. We've got some plans here, but they're in the schematic design phase. We need to take it through design development and construction documents. Take a couple of months to get to the bidding set.
We're going to want that for some time frame.
Yeah, probably the end of the year, be ready.
Okay. In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Resolution to transmit the 2021 and 2022 annual update of the capital improvement elements for Gilmer County and the cities of Ellijay and East Ellijay for review. I would make a motion that be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of a member to the Keep Gilmer Beautiful Committee. The candidate that we have is David Grubb, who is willing to serve, and I would make a motion that David Grubb be appointed.
Second. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion and possible action on specifications of a solid waste vendor. Tim?
Well, that'll then go out after, so I need to list what he's
Yeah. Just
Your commissioners, as I promised you yesterday.
hang on just a minute, Jim.
I just want to be able to hear what you have to say.
had a good discussion about animals, now I want to talk about garbage.
It's all balanced.
Because we all produce garbage, including animals. As I promised you yesterday, I have provided to you a draft of the specifications that we feel like that is needed for us to advertise for our solid waste vendor services for the next few years. I have no pride in authorship. I know you haven't had time to look at them, but I would respectfully request that with the approval of the county attorney, that we be authorized to advertise for bid the services for our solid waste department. I'll answer any questions that you might have. I have also provided for you a copy of the state statute 366013, which gives us the authority to do exactly what we're proposing to do, and that is to bid and to do the contract in such a way to where it could be, does not necessarily have to be multi-year, but would be renewable every year thereafter. One of the things that we are under the gun, as I have explained to you, the current contract that we have requires 60 days notification of the current vendor if we select another vendor. And the contract expires December the 31st of this year. So you can see we don't have much time.
Jim, how similar is this to our existing contract?
It is similar to it, Charlie. One of the things that we did add is we added one compaction unit to the landfill site. We provide you monthly with the report on the volumes. And again, because of growth and things of that nature, we feel like that another solid waste compaction unit for our bag garbage, now not for the recycle, but for the bag garbage, will actually be a cost saver to us because it will reduce the amount of times that we have to pull that compaction unit during the week. Right now, we're pulling the compaction unit at the landfill 3 times a week, and sometimes 4 times a week. So it is similar, but there are a few differences in that we add that equipment. And I'm anxious for David to take a look at the specifications because I copied from the previous, and I'm not sure the insurance requirements will be enough, David, and the bonding.
I'll look at it.
Okay.
It seems to be similar to, it's almost like a template of the earlier one that was done in 2005.
Well, we tried to incorporate that along with the 2 addendums that were done because we have recycling now. And originally we did not have. The original thing, the powers that be at that time had visions of a crusher at the landfill. We took the crusher out.
So Jim, if I understand your proposal, your recommendation properly, what we're saying then is that you feel that we should authorize this to be put out to bid assuming David approves the contract.
Yes. That is.
And I, you know, again, it's just been introduced to y'all, so I would welcome any comments that y'all would have with respect to it.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you want to email Jim and I, we'll incorporate it. If you have any comments that you feel like need to be incorporated into it.
Yeah, well, I have no pride in authorship, and
Did you say 60 or 30 days that you have to give them notice?
60 days.
So-
60 days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you think, is recycling gonna hurt us in this bidding? Because I know some-
No, I don't think, what Carlene, what we did, maybe before you became a commissioner,
The recycling before the commissioner?
we did not have recycling. And I think Commissioner Parrish was one of the driving forces there, that we took one of the compaction units at the landfill, at Kusawati, and at Cardigan. And we rededicated those compaction units to recycled material only, which left us one short of the household garbage. But at the same time, it lightened the load, because people were recycling then, and so there was a trade-off. But at the landfill is our busiest convenience site. And if you look at the reports, you will see that we continue to grow in the tonnage for the bag garbage. And we are having to actually have the vendor to pull that compacting unit about twice as many times as we normally would. So if we install another compactor there, then we will lessen the number of pulls.
And then they can do 2 pulls at one time when they come, or no?
One of the things, no, they, only one truck.
I didn't
But
know.
what they do, Carlene, is they haul the garbage to the transfer station on Progress Road. And then and then they will bring an empty bag and they'll pull the other. We do not have the same schedule every day for all facilities. We give the vendor a schedule weekly for them to pull at different locations. We've got 7 locations, remember? So we do more in solid waste than any other county in North Georgia, I promise you. More than larger counties. And we, I guess we just got nasty people.
Mr. Chairman, is that a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye. Thank you, Jim. Okay, discussion and possible action to authorize to proceed an advertisement of bids for the community outreach vehicle. I would make a motion that be approved, and this will be coming from the American Recovery Act funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let me pull out my information here. Okay, what I have just given you Essentially, what we looked at yesterday is just a little bit different form. The first one shows every vehicle and every piece of equipment that was approved, either in the 2021 budget or with the CARES Act funding, with the amounts that were approved for that particular item next to it, and the total down at the bottom. That's for informational purposes. The budget amendment that I would recommend is in the second sheet, which is exactly identical to the first sheet, except it doesn't show the breakout for each individual item. It just has those same items as a group, and then a total at the bottom as the funding amount available for those. And I did it that way because I'm afraid if the budget amendment is approved with a figure beside each item, that might imply that we're still budgeting that amount for that item. And I think what we need to be doing is budgeting the total amount at the bottom for the total number of items. I would envision with this budget amendment that it would not give the authority to purchase any vehicle or any piece of equipment that's not on this list, even if there's money left over after everything's bought.
Correct.
Also, if we reach the end of that money and there's an item or two left, then we stop.
The only downside to that would be whoever was slowest winds up getting hurt.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a downside, but yeah, that's true.
I'm fine with this.
And also, now, some of these things have already been purchased, but I put them all in there together because I don't think we should be breaking anything out separating these. All right, if y'all are good with it, then I'm gonna make a motion that we approve a budget amendment to list these individual items for purchase and a total amount that would be allowable to expend for those total purchases.
You'll do the second.
Go for it.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh.
Aye. Okay, Hubert, I think at this point, does anybody need an executive session?
Mr. Chairman, before you adjourn,
Yeah.
I was just informed by Randy Chadwick, our solid waste manager, that I had not looked at my emails this afternoon. We were approved by EPD for the minor modification today. So we will be advertising for bids for the lift station next week, along with this. So,
Excellent. Thank y'all.
There being no further business to come before the House, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, folks.